everybody, welcome again. This is Michael Hoffman. Michael, welcome. We were going to have somebody join as a panelist. Obviously, they never showed up or I didn't promote them. In any case, let's get started. If I've got questions, I'll interrupt and I'll ask a question. For others, if you want to chat your questions, again, I can interrupt, just use chat. Michael, let's start with a little bit of a review from last meeting. Go ahead.
Okay, so today's agenda, welcome everybody. Today's agenda is a quick review of the challenge that we outlined a couple of weeks ago, and then we're going to go to the LeanMail solution, which is combining a mindset training and cutting-edge technology. I hope you're excited about that. Basically, we're spending a good part of our day with Outlook. We're organizing, we're prioritizing, we're scheduling, we're doing all our follow-ups and working with meetings, our core business. You know, so much is going on in Outlook, and yet we haven't done so much to improve that area in our lives. And it's a shame because it's really our command and control center. So when I look around at the organizations that we work with, I'm finding out that most knowledge workers are spending a third or more of their day in email, working with email, and half of that time is wasted. So they could be putting all of that extra time into more sales, more core work, into customer service, etc. And unfortunately, it's just being wasted, and it's a big problem all around the world. We have no problem seeing, for instance, the mess on the desk to the left here, as compared to the clean desk to the right. And here, you know, in this wiring view, you wouldn't want anybody to wire your house like the one on the left. But interestingly enough, somehow people can't see the distinction as clearly in this example with email. So there is a big block when we come to email that people are just not clear about the problem that this creates. You know, not having a clear overview, not seeing your priorities and urgencies, and not seeing exactly what's been decided upon. And there's a big cost to doing nothing. Here I'm using an example of a company with 5,000 employees, and you're seeing a current spend on email at $82 million, $500,000 on email, if they're spending an average of 2 hours a day on email. But great. So as I was saying, maybe you have a smaller company, and so you won't have these big numbers. But one way to measure this is to take approximately $8,000 per hour of email times the number of employees you have in your company to get a rough estimate of what email costs you today. I'm not saying that you can reduce that to nothing. We need email. I'm a big fan of email, so I'm not a proponent of getting rid of email like some other companies. But at the same time, if half of that money is wasted, then that's a pretty big problem. And even if you don't believe you know, my calculations, that's fine too, long as you figure out what works for you. But don't turn a blind eye to it, is what I'm saying. Okay. So, you know, here are 6 reasons to do something about email yesterday. Less than 60% of the time you're spending on email right now is productive. That means 40% of the time is probably wasted. Roughly 10 to 20% of emails are late, 5 to 10% are accidentally missed. Your most important emails are not systematically acted upon, and I'm stressing systematically here because I'm not talking about an ad hoc, hope you'll get to it way of working, right? And then, you know, there are huge amounts of stress that people are experiencing. So, no, I don't think we're idiots, but I think that there is a lot of ignorance to the fact that there is a viable and transformative permanent solution available. And that's what I'm going to get to today. So I'm excited about bringing that to your attention. And I should say the seventh and very best reason to do something about email is the fact that you can fix this, or fix 80% of the challenge in about 2 hours. So I'm inviting people to send me an email today at info@atrendia.com with the subject line, sign me up for the no cure, no pay. And if you do that, I will be very happy to give you a no cure, no pay agreement, whereas you come in for the first 2 hours. And if you don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, there's no reason to pay. You can just leave and don't continue. If you decide to continue, then of course you'll pay for the course, and you'll have that opportunity to clear up your email problem. So I'm offering this for this seminar today. So think about that. Okay. So probably even with the information I've given with the previous seminar and with this seminar as well, people have the attitude of, well, I've seen it, I've tried it, I've pretty much done everything. And that's basically the rut that we're in today. And we all know the 4D mantra, the do, defer, delegate, and delete. And we've all tried that with all these different folder systems, 4 piles instead of 1 pile. And it just seems to grow and grow and grow. So today I'm going to talk about getting rid of those 4 piles and looking at a way of working with email that is more customer-oriented. And so today we're going to talk about 3 different protection plans, what we call protection plans, and they are Inbox480 protection, priority protection, and efficiency protection. If we should do another webinar, George, then I would like to talk about the shared inbox issue, our mobile application, and also email excellence, which is a writing course. So let's take a look at what's coming into our inbox. Now, I want you to know that I'm talking about post-spam. So we're not going to talk about all the spam that's coming in. Hopefully, by now you have great spam filters that are taking care of that challenge. But between 50 and 90% of the time, between 50 and 90% of the mails coming in are actually not adding value. It's only between 10 and 40% of the mail that is actually executable. So there's an incredible amount of waste coming in. And I'm going to focus today, first of all, on how to deal with the initial problem of a lot of mail coming in. And I want to bring about the first concept here, that there is no such thing as too much email. I mean, basically, it's like maybe a fat person saying there are too many pizza restaurants, or an alcoholic saying there are too many bars. It doesn't really work that way. There are lots of mails coming in. They will continue to come in. There'll be lots of pizza places, and there'll be lots of bars. So let's deal with the problem head on. And so the real issue here is not so much about what's coming in. The real issue is, how do we make sure that we're keeping care of our priority and focusing on the important things? So you simply can't get everything done. You simply can't get it all done. So you should be really focusing on that 20% that's providing 80% of the effect for your business. And I want to make sure that we're also clear on the fact that I'm not talking about this ad hoc of sometimes or most of the time. I'm talking about having this efficiency and effectiveness all the time, using a lot of automation in the process. So I'm going to start off here with the unwanted mail from known and unknown senders. Okay, that's the first thing that we're going to have to deal with. Now, for people who are not getting more than, let's say, 30 mails, hold on for a moment. I'll get back to you in a moment. But for the people who are getting more than 30 mails, and that's about 80% of you and your colleagues, this is going to be quite interesting for you. So I'm going to talk about a solution that is part of our LeanMail solution called Inbox480. And Inbox480 is, as the name suggests, an inbox for 80% of the mails that you receive. So we're separating the non-essential from the essential mails. And here's the first problem, and that is that email enters your inbox without prejudice, meaning that the senders of the mails, they can get into your inbox because they've been allowed to, and you don't really have a filtering system like you do for a spam filtering system. So we've developed an automatic filtering system to help you with that. And the first question we need to ask is, well, how much of that mail is really essential, right? And the answer to that question is probably around 20%, right? If we look at Pareto principle, that tends to be the normal number. So that means that 20% of your mail that's coming in is getting lost in the weeds of the 80%. So the bottom line is that you're spending so many hours piling and filing and also deleting a lot of non-essential mail. And if you're not deleting it, you're just letting it grow and grow and grow, and it's getting worse and worse. So, this is a physical representation of that, where there's so many mails in your inbox that you'll actually never look at again. And so why are you spending time having these mails in your inbox in the first place, right? Then there's the hidden challenge that is very interesting. And I should say that it was a surprise for me too when I first started using Inbox480. I knew that Inbox480 would have a big impact on my life as well. But what I didn't know is that I was reading all these non-essential mails on a regular basis, such as the ones you see in front of you here. See who has been viewing your LinkedIn profile this week. I mean, we're all looking at that. What are the 5 most important things you should be doing right now? Well, probably not reading that mail. 12 flights for less than 24 euro to Barcelona. Well, living in Barcelona, that could be very interesting to me. Or, a free gift, but only today. And this last item came in yesterday. Special report, Greenland is melting away. But how fast? A team of scientists went on a perilous trip to find out. I mean, who wouldn't be interested in at least taking a peek at that? And I realized after I stopped looking at these emails, and boy, they fill up my inbox as well, how much time I was spending on all this non-essential work. And I didn't know that until I stopped. That's a big part of this problem. You don't really know what's going on until you stop banging your head against the wall, and then all of a sudden you feel the relief. And that's very typical of stress. So what Inbox480 does is, in the way you're working right now, all the mails, let's say we have 100 mails and they come in your inbox, the way it works now is, well, they arrive in your inbox. But if you add Inbox480 to your arsenal, it means that it's going to separate the 20% that are essential and allow those mails in your inbox while it's saying no to everything else. So how does it do that? Well, nightclub owners figured out a long time ago that you're not supposed to let the guests into the nightclub and then kick them out, right? What you're supposed to do is have a guest list, as they do, and allow only the VIPs in. Now, Microsoft and Google have come up with tools that are similar to Inbox480, but they've taken the route of having these very difficult algorithms in order to figure out your behavior. Now, that's really neat, but at the same time, not extremely effective when you think about it. This is a lot more effective, right? I don't need a program to learn how I'm working with mails. What I'm saying is nobody gets in. The only people that are going to get in are the people that I allow on a one-to-one basis. So in the beginning, you can imagine that I have to allow quite a number of people to come into my inbox. But after a week or so, that number starts to go way down. And today, I would say maybe it's 3 or 4 a day that are new mails that I have to judge as either essential or non-essential. But think about the savings of my time now, because all of those mails that are now non-essential are not getting into my inbox, and yet they're just a click away. So basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, I want you close to me, and I give you the thumbs up. I want you sometimes And I'll give you the sideways thumb. So that is sending you to my Inbox480, or I never want to see you again. And that is sending to my spam. So those are really the three options. And the default is that you're going to my Inbox480, not to my inbox. So that's quite a difference from other products, and makes a big difference in what's left. So now I'm only dealing with the 20%, and I'm going to further process that with LeanMail. But just so we're clear about how this works, once the mails are in my inbox, Inbox480, I can then decide when they will be deleted. Now, I personally have this on 2 days. So after 2 days, they're deleted from my Inbox480. You can set it for 3 weeks, or you can even say that you don't want them to be deleted at all. That's up to you. But the important thing is that I don't sit around deleting non-essential mails. Also, I am notified anytime a sender sends a mail to my Inbox480, so that I can make sure I can differentiate between the non-essential and the essential senders. And the very first time that I decide that they are essential or non-essential, the Inbox480 keeps track of that for the next time. So it's only a one-time choice per sender. And so here you can see a representation of the mails that are coming in. And at the top you see the non-confirmed non-essentials and the confirmed non-essential senders below that. So I will scrutinize those top mails to make sure that there are no essential senders there, whereas the bottom list, I am simply previewing them, just scanning that list to see if there's anything there that's interesting. Very different from having everything coming in your inbox and having to make a choice about everything all the time. So that is how Inbox480 works. And if you want to have more information about that, you can just go to inbox480.com. So, mission accomplished, but not really. That's just the starting point. Now, only our essential mails are coming into our inbox. So now we go to the second concept, which is that all the mail in your inbox is adding 0 value, right? And that's the truth. If a mail is sitting in your inbox, it's not adding value to anybody. It's only adding value when it's being processed. So think about that. You want to move on these mails as fast as possible, but you also want to make sure that you're moving on the most important mails first. So once you are down to those essential mails, how do you make sure that you're turning them into value for your customer? Well, first we have to figure out who the customer is. So that customer could be an end customer. It could be your colleague, a boss. It could be your spouse. It could be a supplier. It could be any stakeholder that you're having communications with, right? So now we're going to learn about applying Lean to inbox management. So I've chosen a few tools here to feature. There's a lot more than this, and there's also a lot more than just Lean tools in LeanMail. But today, in the time we have, I'm going to talk about 5S, Poka-Yoke, JIT, Kanban, which is visual management, Onepiece Flow, or Pull, and standard work. So these are the things that I'm going to highlight in this presentation today. Great, thank you. And absolutely feel free to come up with questions along the way, and especially if you want to challenge some of the things I say, that's a great way to increase the debate. So today, we handle mail more as a depository. So our inbox is a depository from which we are taking things out and reading them and rereading them and acting upon them as soon as we can. We're trying to do the best job we can. But we're certainly not treating it as a kind of factory. And that's a much better way to deal with email. I'm not saying that we have to be very computer-like in the way we respond to mails, but I think we should try to be as effective and efficient as possible. And it makes quite a difference on the bottom line to do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're applying 5S to your inbox. And most of you are familiar with 5S, the sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain. And so we're going to apply that today. to the inbox. So first of all, sorting. After we have deleted or put aside the non-essential mail, we're only dealing now with essential mail. But still, there are some unwanted mails from those essential senders and also irrelevant mail. So we want to delete those mails immediately. Then there are mails that are not requiring action, but we still want to hold on to those and we archive those. And I should tell you, in the LeanMail way of working, we use a one-folder system similar to Google. Remember, this is still in Outlook, but we have found out that we can create a matrix in one folder so that you can find out you can use so many different ways of searching in this one folder rather than trying to find all your mails and also tuck mails away into all these subfolders and sub-subfolders and so on. So you've now deleted and archived some mails. And the only mails that you're going to have left in your inbox are mails that you need to act upon. And we're going to use a binary decision-making process in terms of the prioritization. And that means that we're going to use Pareto principle of high and normal prioritization. And that works so much better than tertiary or any other multiple of, let's say, a five-step system or a high, medium, and low, and so on. Because our brains think so much better in binary format, left, right, up, down, yes, no. These are things that we can hook into very quickly. And the fact that Pareto, or the 80-20 rule, is a business way of thinking. And we're running businesses, so why not think like a business in our inbox? So this is what a typical inbox looks like before we get our hands on it. And you're all very good at sometimes flagging mails. This is an older version of Outlook, so you're doing different things today. Some people are marking mails as being unread to remember to get back to them. There's a neat workaround. And as you know, we don't like workarounds in Lean. And sometimes people will list urgencies, like I need to do this today, tomorrow, next week. Then there are others who are, let's say, the more compulsive types, and they're dragging their emails into tasks and putting categories on them, assigning all this information to them. You can do that as well, but boy, does that take a long time, and that is very far from being scalable in larger organizations. You're just not going to get anybody to do that. You'll get 5% of the people like you to do that. So this is what it looks like before you're sorting it. But when we sort it, this is what it looks like afterwards. So quite different from that pile of mails before, because no longer are we sorting by date received. And think about this. If you looked at your inbox right now, most of you would have your inbox sorted by date received. What value does that add? It adds no value, because you have no control over that, and neither do your customers. What you do have control over, though, is priority. So after we are done sorting, what's at the top of your inbox are your most important mails, and below that are the 80% that you know you're going to have to deal with at some point as well. But by dealing with the most important things first, you're making that flywheel move much, much faster. Now, of course, in your inbox, if you try to do this right now, you wouldn't have 4 mails of high priority and maybe 6 mails below that of normal. It'd be more like 50 mails on top and maybe 100 below that. I've seen your inbox. So we need more than just prioritization. So we need to add the element of urgency as well. And this is where we get to the third concept, and that is ambivalence being the silent killer. And it's funny, I was listening to NPR. Yes, we get NPR in Barcelona, of course, through the web. Can't live without it. And I heard about a study in Salt Lake City that reported that ambivalence in married couples is increasing their health problem. And I thought that was very interesting, because I know that's very true at work. As long as you're not clear on things, that increases your stress quite a bit. And I mentioned before that a quarter, or I probably didn't say that it was a quarter, but a quarter of the work that you're doing is figuring out the priority of a mail. The next quarter is knowing exactly what to do about a mail, or at least the first step. And a third quarter then is figuring out the deadline for that. These are the things that are going on in our heads when we're dealing with email. So the second S is straighten. And so what we're doing in this step is we're either immediately answering emails. And I should say before, when we were prioritizing, it's fine if you can answer a mail within 10 seconds. We have the 10-second rule. And go ahead and do that immediately, but keep to less than 10 seconds or less, because you don't want to get off track in your prioritization. You don't want to all of a sudden start to answer mails, because then you're not going to get to those most important things. So when you have sorted out your mails and you have your most important mails on top, by all means, start answering the mails that you could answer in 2 minutes or less, using, as many of you know, David Allen's 2-minute rule. But if you can't answer it, this is the time to get rid of the ambiguity, right? So you can't do this at home. This is why we've created some software. This is actually one of the reasons why. And I should say that when I started off working as a trainer for companies with email, I desperately didn't want to get involved with software, because I knew that it would be something that would stop me from getting through to a lot of companies. The truth is, it hasn't turned out that way. It hasn't been a problem. But at the same time, at that point, it wasn't my ideal situation. But by adding software, we're actually able to go from a standard way of working in a default Outlook setting to a business standard. And this is quite interesting, because now we can actually add a next action and a deadline, what we call a when date, in Outlook. And that means now we have both JIT, or just in time. So we're applying a deadline to a mail, and what's going on in our heads is, I need to do this mail by this time, and we don't want to put that as tomorrow if we can't get it done by then. We're putting a deadline of something that's real and possible. So that's part of the training that we give. And also, there's a poka-yoke here, and many of you know a poka-yoke as a way of making sure that you can't make mistakes. One example of that is a seatbelt. If you're not buckled in your seatbelt, you'll hear a ding, ding, ding until you buckle up your seatbelt. That's a great example of a poka-yoke. But here, if you don't put a next action and a when date, it's not going to leave your planning view. So first we had a prioritized view that showed you mails that weren't prioritized, and this view is showing you mails that still need to be planned. And all you need to do in order to get your mail past this hoop is to write a next action and a when date. And so you're doing this directly in Outlook, so you don't have to open up another program. You're not dragging and dropping. You're actually using your what is that called? Your tab key. Thank you. You're using your tab key in order to go across the different lines. So very quick and easy way to organize yourself and get rid of that ambiguity, the ambiguity of what do I need to do, when do I need to do it. So now you know how important it is, what you need to do, when you need to do it, right in the first few seconds of your journey. So here's that pre-lean look, right? And here's what it looks like after you've gone through those steps. And by the way, there are only 2 steps, right? There's only the prioritization and the planning. And so what you see before you now is Kanban. It's a scheduling system. And it required so little effort to do. So you have, first of all, your mails in priority order, so you can do the most important things first. Then you only see the mails that you need to be working on today. You're not encumbered by mails that you can't do anything about. And then third, you can see exactly what you need to do. No more rereading of mails. And also, these mails are sorted by the first letter of each next action. So if you use your cabeza, as we say in Spain, you'll know to start to use that in a proper way, where you're putting the who, or the person you need to speak to first, so that you can group your mails by person or by meeting or by process. And now you can see there's so much power into doing all this upfront work. Now, naturally, in the beginning, it feels a little bit heavy to actually be working on your emails when you get them. But what you haven't been noticing is that you've been spending or wasting so much time by not doing those things up front. And that's what you find out during the training. A little bit difficult to see that in any kind of demonstration, which is why I dislike demonstrations very much, because LeanMail is not about a tool. I'm showing you a view of our tool right now, but a good 90% of that is the mindset and the training. So now we're getting to the third S, which is shine. And so once you get your emails in shape, now it's time to focus on your next actions and when, and to review them to make sure that they're in order, that you understand what your next actions are, so you don't have to reread your mails. And if you find that you're not clear on something, you'll want to brush up that next action. And also to make sure that you can still manage the workload that you have today. So what I've just illustrated for you in this process is really pull. It's one-piece flow. You start off by prioritizing, and LeanMail actually will take you to the planning view automatically once you prioritize your last mail. Now imagine if you're doing this and you get, let's say, 20 mails in the morning or between meetings, you'll be able to prioritize those mails in about I don't know, 10, 15, 20 seconds. It's very quick to prioritize. Then when you get to the planning, you'll simply decide on your next actions and when dates if you can't actually solve them using the 2-minute rule. Then it'll automatically transport you to the today view, so you're working on the mails that you can work on today and nothing else. Obviously, if you want to see all your mails, you can click on the all mails view as well. And you'll want to do that in order to replan your mails using drag and drop to different dates there. So we're really talking here about a 2-step process that's really quick and easy and not a lot of fussing around. So everybody can learn how to do this. And for that reason, 99.1% of the people that we train since our inception love this method. I'm not saying that everybody sticks to that for their lifetime, because it does require some habit forming. But I think the numbers 86% are still using the LeanMail method after 1 year. It's quite a high number, especially if you compare it to other methods. And the first thing that people ask me after I'm done with this type of presentation is, can you show it to me? I've just explained to them that this is really about methodology and training, and they still ask me, well, can you show it to them? Show it to me. So I say, well, no, because you have to jump in the pool for me to show it to you. This is training, and just like learning how to swim or any sport, or learning an instrument, a violin, a trumpet, or a piano, you actually have to get behind the wheel, so to speak, and do it yourself for you to understand how this works. And still they say, well, you could at least just show me the tool, show me what that looks like. Well, I don't think that's going to help you much. That's the problem. So then there is the issue of systemizing and sustaining this process, as you know, the fourth and the fifth S. And really that's going to come from, the first part of that is the journey. So the journey is the reward. The journey and doing this on a daily basis is what's going to make that happen, as well as leadership. I'm going to click my mouse here. There we go. So the reward for the users is, first of all, continuous and not periodic cleaning. So your inbox is constantly in order. And that's going to give you, a great feeling all the time and a feeling of control. And so will having an empty inbox at the end of each day. Naturally, you can't do all your mails in one day, So you will have mails left, but your today view will be empty. And so you will know that you're actually done for the day. Wouldn't that be nice? And then there's the continuous improvement aspect of this, and that is absolutely a basic human need. If you read about the basic needs that we have, you'll find out that getting better and improving is a very important part of that, a very important characteristic. Rigor is the other aspect of this. Pardon me, just go back a slide here. So when I'm talking about rigor, I'm talking not just about the rigor of the user, but I'm talking about leadership as well. In order to appreciate that once you get to a certain level of managing your email, or once your teams do, then it's very important for the organization to maintain that level and to also expect it from everybody. Otherwise, like anything else, it's going to fade. And LeanMail, like any other lean project, does require a top-down attitude as well. Okay. Then the secret weapon, or what we'd like to call the secret weapon, is the fact that we have a very specialized training program that helps people maintain this habit. And I would say that is the cornerstone of LeanMail. As you could see, LeanMail is not complicated. After all, it's only 2 steps. Most of you right now, after having seen this webinar, could probably figure it out very quickly. But what is difficult is to suddenly gain a new habit. So that's not going to happen immediately, and that's really where our training comes in. And some people call that our secret weapon, because we do not let you go until you have formed the habit. Let me give you a quick idea of our training program. So this is one training program. By no means do we have a one-size-fits-all. We tried to customize this according to organizations, but this is the general idea of our training. And you can see here that we'll come in for a first group training that lasts 2 hours. A week later, we'll come again and get deeper into it. But I want you to know that after the first 2 hours, you're on your way. You're practicing lean in your inbox. The next time we meet, it's just getting deeper into that process, a deeper understanding, and facilitating you to work even better. Then a week later, there's a half-an-hour coaching to make sure that we've filled in all the holes, and a week later, another half-an-hour coaching just to solidify. Now, throughout this entire process, you're actually sending us daily print screens at a click of a button so that we can also monitor and maintain your training on a daily basis. So, and that will go on 2 weeks after the last coaching session. So you can see here, this is a pretty rigorous training program. However, for the participant, they simply are coming to 4 sessions and getting some coaching in between. So that's what the training program looks like. So I don't expect everybody to believe me and believe that you're going to solve this problem just because Michael Hoffman is telling you that you can. But what I would like to do is invite you for no cure, no pay training so that you can try it yourself without worrying about any cost. Come in for the first 2-hour training. If you don't like it, if you don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, absolutely take off and no hard feelings. And if you do like it, well, then you'll be able to continue and master your inbox. So that's the presentation I had today, George. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to handle them here. Great, thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, thank you.
Hi, yes, my name is Leonardo Martinez, and I was very interested to, to participate in this webinar. We actually are a business consulting company specialized in lean management and Toyota production system. So we're kind of wanting to get the feeling of this approach of the Toyota principles toward emails, and I was asked to participate. And yes, I'd like to, as you said, Michael, I think the most important part is focusing and training and not the tool, because you are presenting, the tool that you guys developed, and I think it's very, very interesting. Well, let me see some answer, some questions. I'd like to find out about the results that you get when you go in the companies and you present your your knowledge and your material and your tools. I'd like to understand a bit the results that you get when you are with people.
Yeah, they're fairly uniform, I would say. Very few companies stray from the median, and as you can imagine, basically what we're seeing is that the participants, and we get the results through survey. Very difficult to measure with absolute measurements, although we're working on that as well. And by the way, part of the problem of measuring for us is the fact that no company measures. Nobody's been measuring email ever. So we cannot come in, train, and then check against the previous measurements. So that's one of the issues we have. But basically, most of the participants are saying that they're saving between 40 and 60% of the time that they spent on email. That's one measurement. But I think the most important measurement is actually the fact that what they're saying is that the most important things are getting done first on a systematic basis. I think that's actually the most important measurement that we have. Because if the 20% is getting done much faster, that means your company is becoming much more profitable. And by the way, I just want to mention one other thing regarding what you said earlier about the training being important. Another aspect of this is that we're training Lean in an area that people are spending time in every single day, several hours a day. So what better place to implant Lean in your organization, right? There's 5S, there's Kanban, there are all these different tools that they're learning about. Even if it's done a little bit undercover, we can always lift that out and say, hey, you know how you've been prioritizing? Well, that's the sorting process and so on. Did you have any more questions?
I just want to clear one point. When you said to create correct me if I'm wrong, if I say wrongly. You said that to create three categories, wanted people to have them close. In other words, to priority people, and then people that you would like to receive emails from sometimes and then never. But I mean, what do you do with the new people that you don't know yet? How do you manage the new emails from strangers?
Right. So remember, what you're referring to is Inbox480, and that's the first step of the LeanMail process. And what happens is when you first start with Inbox480, basically what you're doing is you're shutting off your inbox to everybody. Nobody can any longer come into your inbox. So when you start to get mails, they're going into your Inbox480, and our program identifies people who are new to Inbox480 from the people that you haven't reacted upon or have said, okay, these people, they can stay in Inbox480. But every time you get a new mail, you're notified of that with a small number next to the folder that says, hey, you've got, let's say, 4 people who you need to take a look at to make sure that they should stay in there or not. And let's say 2 of them, you decide, okay, these senders I want in my inbox, and the other 2 I don't. Once you've given a thumbs up to those 2 senders, then you click on a check mark to say, okay, I've reviewed the rest. And from that point on, those 2 senders that you gave the thumbs up to will never be sent to Inbox 480, but the other two will always go there unless you change your mind about them, which you can, but you will not be notified about those other two the next time. Is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So in that case, in the case of Inbox 480, we're really looking at senders. We're looking at the value that these particular senders send. So in a very generic way, when we get into this sorting process in LeanMail, now we're looking at individual mails. But now you've gone from 80% to 20%, so it makes sense to look at the individual mails because, let's face it, not every mail from your boss is important. Maybe a lot of them are, but not all of them. And you should nip that in the bud immediately.
There we go. Michael? I was just promoting everybody, and then I was going to take myself off mute, but it doesn't do two things at once. Okay, so I said I was gonna remain quiet to myself. I have a little note here. Don't talk too much, George. But I can't help it. I got to tell you, I can't help it. I can't stay quiet any longer. Okay, initially everybody should know it was just LeanMail, and then the Inbox 480 came after. When I had
That's true.
Just LeanMail, I loved it. I mean, one of the biggest issues I had was I was doing that thing, that unread thing. You know, I was always keeping it in my inbox until I dealt with it. But some items were projects. They weren't items, and they weren't too big to be a project. So I didn't have a way to manage it. So I did LeanMail first, then the Inbox 480 second. Now I can tell you, I get, I don't know, 60 emails a day from 300. And I rifle through those so quickly because of the training I went through. You actually beat it into my head, and I didn't like it. Because January we got on the phone, and I said, I'm doing great. Look at me. Look at how great I'm doing. And you said, George, you're still not following the process. So I was making changes to what you were doing. And then when I followed the process, I thought, okay, I get it now. Sort first, because the brain actually goes through those decisions a lot quicker. As soon as you try to do two things, it'll slow you down dramatically. And then as we did the sort, and then I went through it, I cleared up all my emails, and then I sent you what you call snow. Every day I sent a picture of my clear inbox. I thought that was the best thing ever. What accountability. And I thought if I could take that to all my people in a company, get them to send me just a picture. They don't need to know that I'm looking at it or not. What great accountability that they've got their inbox done. And then the actioning and setting dates to it, that's amazing. Because you don't have to put a date. You could say, I want to deal with it tomorrow. You type in tomorrow, it shows up tomorrow. And what a way to level load my workload. So I think you're missing the level loading component, you know, to this, right? So that's really important. If there's anybody with any questions, by all means, take yourself off mute and ask the questions.
You know, George, while we're waiting for a question, I want to talk about the what I call the rice effect, or the rice recipe effect. You know, there are a number of people who, when they go through the training, they kind of cut corners a little bit, or they add their way to doing it to our way. And it's very similar to if you teach, I don't know if you know this, but I do quite a bit of cooking. And when I talk about making perfect rice every time, I can explain that recipe to somebody, and then they'll come back to me and they'll say, well, you know, it doesn't always turn out that well. And I said, well, did you do the 2-to-1 ratio of water to rice? Well, I didn't actually measure it. Or I'll say, well, did you stir it after the rice is being set? Well, yeah, because otherwise it's not going to set right. And so you find out that they're actually not following the recipe. And the same is true with some beginners in LeanMail. They don't follow the recipe, and so it takes them a little bit longer. But because we have the print screens, that helps us identify those people immediately and help them get back on track.
Yeah, you know, that's what I love. Because if you develop a habit like this, it's one employee teaching the next kind of how to do it. And then it becomes such a habit. You don't need training, because what it is, as soon as you get in the company, the training begins. Now, we'd love to get to that point, but it doesn't happen without, somebody taking the lead and making the effort and doing it. Henry, you had a question. Go ahead, take yourself off mute, Henry.
Yeah, in the meantime, I should mention that we also have a mobile application that's just coming out for iOS right now and eventually for Android. And this will be a game changer simply because now you'll be interacting with Exchange or with Outlook on a much more regular basis, and you'll also see the need for having the tool much more clearly.
Okay, so here's the question from Henry. And Henry's like me. Just cut to the chase, man. I think that's what he's saying. How do I get information on what a license fee costs, on training, etc.? And I think you put your email in here. I don't know what slide it was. But I think, Henry, you got to email Michael.
Yeah, you can email direct. Yeah, you can email me directly at mh@atrendia.com, or you can send it to us at info@atrendia.com. Yeah, there's a slide. And then let's talk about your situation. I'm not real happy to hawk this as a training and a software, because I'm sure you have individual needs that are a little bit outside the box. So why don't we look at exactly what your needs are, so you're not paying for more than what you need and getting all your needs met. That's what I would prefer to do. You'll notice that we don't sell, for instance, the software by itself. We don't do that because we don't believe in it. I will never believe that I could put this online and sell it for whatever price, and people will develop the habit automatically. That's just not the way it's going to work.
You know what? That's what I liked about you, Michael. Because when I took it, I would have just bought it and tried it and then lost it because I didn't get it. But you guys forced me to take time out. So that was really annoying at first, but then I got it after a couple of training sessions. I hate to tell you, it's annoying when somebody forces you to get training. Okay, so Henry says thank you for the information, and that was good. Any other questions, guys? Go ahead with more questions if you like. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. The last question was, are slides going to be available? Yeah, go to the online office. If you look at chat, you'll see it's leanleadership.google/community.html. Sign up for the online office. I'm going to put the slides in there. Plus, I'll do a video of this webinar and throw that in there as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful week. All right, thank you, Michael. Spain is nice.
Thank you all.
Canada's getting a little colder where I am, so I'm moving south again soon. All right, take care.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you,
everybody.
Bye-bye.